Ubisoft's conference showed off a host of new titles. They unveiled the medieval melee For Honor, strengthened the Tom Clancy lineup with Ghost Recon Wildlands, and we even saw Matt Stone and Trey Parker introduce the new South Park, The Fractured Butthole. You'll be the new kid again, but this time, when the kids are playing superheroes, we get to learn a whole new backstory. Rainbow Six Siege will bring a unique flavour to the shooter lineup in the back half of the year, and its destruction engine and AI look incredible. You won't just be playing with dead meat, your AI opponents will get smarter.
We're talking to Scott, who's the animation director on Rainbow Six Siege. Congratulations on the fact that everyone seems to be talking about this online and at the show. You must be really happy with how everyone's talking about it.
We are ecstatic. The entire team is using this as motivation. It's great to see all the people that come here. It's super positive, all the feedback throughout the media, the fans, the community. It's great.
So I just got to check out Terror Hunt, which is multiplayer against some really, really smart AI. So what can you tell me about that?
The AI this time around has all the tools that the player has. They will react and create destruction just like the players will. So they're extremely intelligent. They'll make their way around the maps, they'll barricade, they'll knock down your barricades. So it means that players are going to have to be readjusting their tactics all the time. And of course, it all adds to the element of tension.
And what about the replayability, which I just learned about? So obviously the AI learn from your moves, so how does that work?
The AI, again, can blow up walls, but they'll also be wary of where you've blown up a wall. They will use that as a new sightline as well. So they will dynamically change their pathing depending on what's going on in the level. If they hear you walking above, they're wary of that. If they hear you shooting bullets, they'll come after you as well.
What I noticed from checking out the game is that in terms of FPS multiplayer, it's very intense, which is awesome. So how have you guys achieved that?
That's actually one of our pillars. So throughout the entire development, all the teams are moving towards that. So even through the preparation phase before each match, you're going to notice how tense it is, where you get a view of what the other team is doing, what they're preparing, and then it gets really quiet as the match starts. Everybody comes in very tactically, very careful, and then all hell breaks loose and things start blowing up. There's holes in the walls. So the entire team works towards that specifically.
So we don't know about all the operators yet, but what can you tell me so far about them?
There's 20 different operators that come from 5 different CTUs from across the world. Each operator has their own specific gadget that's going to make gameplay completely different every time you play. You don't necessarily know who you're going to be playing with in PvP, so that means your tactics are going to have to change. It means that you're going to need to rely on your teammates a little bit more, but it makes it really interesting. You can also unlock these operators throughout all the different game modes. So if you want to play co-op, if you want to play solo through the missions, or if you want to play PvP, you're still unlocking all of this content.
And what have you guys done to make the maps so immersive and big, I suppose?
Well, we're a little bit different than other shooters in that all of our maps, they start outdoors, but you work your way inside. Okay? It's the whole concept of the siege. So our combat is really close quarters, which means, again, that it's extremely tense, and you're really close to everybody, so the action is non-stop once it starts going.
So obviously there are a lot of Tom Clancy games coming out at the moment. We have so many on show today, which is really cool. So how do you guys work with the other teams?
We're very collaborative. We try to pay attention what the other games are doing. Internally, there is some elements of sharing going on, and definitely consultation to see where they're going, because they're experts in shooters. So we try and share that. So there's some consistency among the Clancy branding.
What's the #1 thing you think fans are going to take away from the game?
Definitely how tense and quick the matches are. With the concept of the one shot, one kill, one life, if you get shot in the head, you're down for the rest of the match. So we're really trying to enforce the team play, but everything, the entire experience kind of forces players to communicate with one another. So it's a whole new experience, very exciting.
So I've watched a lot about the game so far, but I haven't gotten hands-on yet. So what is your tip for me?
Watch your corners, check everything, and communicate with your teammates, for sure.
That's probably some really good advice. Thank you so much, Scott. Have a great E3.
Thank you very much.
For the first time, Assassin's Creed has vehicle action, horse and carriage style. We sat down to have a quick chat about what Ubisoft has changed up in the franchise this time.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a totally different setting to anything before. Can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a very true first modern assassin that we're creating. So when you think of it, it's we're getting into London of 1868. London back then was controlling a quarter of the population of the entire world, so very powerful city. The story in a nutshell is you're playing Jacob or Evie Fry, so they're twins, and they get to London and born and raised assassin, so as assassin, and they need to take back London from the Templars.
So we were told at the conference it's basically a revolution within a revolution, and that's right?
Yeah, it's a revolution in a way that, it's only 75 years that from the French Revolution, but it's really, when you think of the Industrial Revolution, completely changed the way we live. So we've went from the medieval period to a modern period. So now there's carriage on the street. There's, for Jacob and Evie, they will get to have a very modern tool, the rope launcher. So it's a very different setting, the very modern setting.
It's great that we're going to be able to play as Evie. Can you tell us a little bit more about her?
Yeah, absolutely. Evie, so she's Jacob's twin. She will join in London as a player. So they will discover London as the player, and basically the players will be able to choose between Evie and Jacob for the entirety of the open world activities. So everything that you've seen in the hands-on demo today is going to be played as well by Evie if the player wants to. Within the main narrative will change between Jacob and Evie depending on the story that we want to tell.
So obviously that was one of the major requests that the fans wanted. What else have you delivered this game that the community has asked for?
I mean, one thing that we do is everything is super dynamic. Everything moves. So when you look at the street with carriages, you can drive the carriages, but you can as well fight on top of it. You can jump from one another. You can hide in it. This is really within the navigation. With the rope launcher, a new tool, super fast, that gives a lot of freedom and creativity to the player. But as well, everything that's on the pillar. So the fight has been revamped completely, and so now it's a really brutal hand-to-hand fight. And the navigation as well has been a lot of polish on it. Stealth as well, a lot of polish on it.
What can you tell us about the new weaponry?
Yeah, the weaponry is really within, like I was saying on the fight, is all the brass knuckle, for example, or we unveiled this week the cane sword. So it's really lethal and very aggressive kind of a weapon for both of them, for both Jacob and Evie.
And when an Assassin's Creed fan gets hands-on with the game for the first time, what do you think are going to be their first impressions?
I think the first impression they will see is that freedom and speed. They're using the rope launcher. We've seen it yesterday on the floor, but we've seen it over the past few months now with our playtest, is that the players are traveling throughout the city a lot faster. We were talking about the carriages, but we're talking as well about trains. So the player can jump on a train, you can fight on top of it, you can as well an inch wagon to create this different kind of gameplay. So it's really about speed. I think that's what the people will feel.
And what's your personal favorite setting of the game in terms of like the physical space around you? Because obviously what we've seen so far, it looks really cool, London. So what's your favorite part of that?
Yeah, favorite part of London for me is I have to say that I have a crush on Westminster, or that area where Buckingham. It's really the place where everyone knows about London. It's the key mark, or the key landmarks that we always see in postcards. It's really that area with Buckingham Palace as well. So what's the really fun way is that we've been there in London a few times, and every time that we go there, we get to walk on the streets, and this is the game. This is in the game. The buildings are still there, so that's pretty amazing.
And what else can you reveal about the detective missions?
Today we're not going to talk too much about that. The only thing that we were going to talk about is that will be exclusive on PS4 for a couple of times. So no, not too much details today. Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you so much for your time, Francois. And just finally, before we go, we actually do have a little present for you and your team. As you might know, Australians always get people to try Vegemite, and sometimes to try Cadbury, but this is Vegemite and Cadbury chocolate in one interesting block. So that is for you and your team. Enjoy. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Thank you.
Ubisoft showed off The Division, releasing March 8, 2016. I had the chance to explore the Dark Zone just outside Times Square in search for loot. Manhattan looks incredibly detailed and the shooting feels great.
Hi guys, we're talking to Fred, who's the executive producer on The Division. So The Division is looking like an incredible game so far. What makes it so different from another FPS that's out there?
I think it's different in many ways. I mean, first of all, it's a real, full, deep RPG. So it's not only the aiming, shooting aspect of it, but you have this whole range of skills, of mods, of talents, crafting components. So it's much more than just your regular shooter, for sure.
And obviously it's very open world as well. Exactly how big is the city that we have to play in?
So we're not really talking about exactly how big it is, but it's a very, very large world. And we want to make sure that we reach the high level of quality all over the world that we've set out to do in the trailers and the demos that you guys hopefully played during E3. So it's a very dense world. There's a lot of stuff going on. We try to depict New York in a very realistic way. The whole game is based on kind of realism, plausibility, and I think that really sets us apart from other RPGs that could, that leans more towards maybe fantasy type of universe.
You guys have just announced the Dark Zone, and obviously FPS players love loot, so what can you tell us about Dark Zone?
So Dark Zone is our lawless area, so it's a PvP enabled space in the middle of the game world. And it was walled off early on in the crisis by the military, and they quickly had to evacuate and get out of there. So now all the best equipment, all the most valuable loot is in this lawless zone. So anyone playing the game could obviously enter seamlessly into this public space where we allowed PvP. So that high risk, high reward.
And what's your favorite weapon in the game? Because when I got hands-on, I even saw a flamethrower.
The flamethrower is absolutely awesome. It's also one of my favorites.
And when people play the game for the first time, and obviously the beta will be available soon, what do you think are going to be their first thoughts?
I hope, that it really feels like a living, breathing world, that it feels like you're in New York City. That's the most striking thing for me during the development of this game. We did a few trips to New York City, and if you find the right street corner, you find the right street, it feels like you're in the game. It's like you're blurring the lines almost between reality and the game, and I hope that's a feeling that that many people will have early on in the game.
And how big exactly is the story mode?
So we're trying to stay away from linear storytelling in this game, so it's going to be the whole open world will be there for you to explore from the very start of the game. So there's going to be lots of missions, side missions, other type of open world activities, but you don't have to do them in a specific order, so you're free to roam and explore the world as you want.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much for talking to us, Fred. We hope you have an awesome E3.
Thank you so much.